welcome to another episode of Nerd Variety Podcast. Yay! We're all here. Yes, we're all here. We're all happy. We're all happy. Even though it's Monday at the time of this recording.
Monday evening.
What? Monday evening. Thank God it's over. We're almost in the clear.
No, I mean, it's bad for me because this is the end of my weekend and now I have 5 work days ahead of me.
Well, Tuesdays aren't always bad.
I open the cafe at 7 o'clock and I have to be there before that to work on opening.
At least you're not at Starbucks. That would be 5 a.m. to get there to open. Get there at 4:30 to open at 5, or 4 to open at 5. Just to let you know.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah. Aside from coffee, we are your host. I am Josh, and I am joined by Hayden, Rascal Flats Rafferty.
Okay, I'm not like a huge fan, but they got a couple good songs.
Yeah, all right. Yeehaw, my friend. And we have Hannah, Hold My Beer Hogan.
Hello, this is me. Greetings.
Because she drinks so much.
I mean, I don't, but my family's from Wisconsin, so I love beer. Love me some beer and mustard and cheese.
Of course, the cheese.
All the Wisconsin things.
I mean, at least they all work in concert, and it's not just beer.
They do. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, they all work together. Yeah. Yeah. Today we are talking terrible, awful TV movie show endings. We're going to review. I said games.
Well, it's just terrible endings.
Yeah, terrible endings. The ones that made us cringe, the one that made us throw our controller to the floor, the ones who made us throw our DVDs players or Blu-ray players, what have you, off the balcony and swear an oath to never watch said show or movie again.
It's the worst thing about Netflix is you can't throw it off the balcony anymore.
Yeah, you can just angrily cancel your subscription.
No one's gonna do that.
Right. Who would do something like that?
No.
Yeah. So I think the fair thing to do is go into shows, because we have a lot of shows that, tend to give us bad endings, or that kind of stick out in our minds the most. And there's a lot that can make a show ending bad. It can be difficult to write an ending for a TV show. Whether studio interference or writer interference, or just that there's the source material for the show is not been completed. I think we can all agree on a certain show that applies to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Hayden, so do you mind us talking about it since you haven't seen the last 1 or 2 seasons?
I mean, of course I prefer not, but I don't know when I'm going to get around to it, so we might as well, I guess. This will just cement that I will never see the end of it. I don't know.
Hey, you had time. I told you to watch all of them yesterday. You could have watched both seasons.
That was yesterday. And it's like, binge it all right now. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
But
just go for it.
I haven't actually seen it, but I know that everyone's mad.
I would say just kind of, we're talking about Game of Thrones, obviously. Their season 8 series finale came out in 2019, and it was bittersweet at first, and then slowly became bitter as time moved forward. The last 3 seasons, they weren't based off George R.R. Martin's source material.
I think it was just the last season, wasn't it?
Or maybe it was at least the last 2.
I was thinking it was just the last one, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. As part of it, there was unfinished. It was unfinished, and so that left the showrunners. I don't know their names right now, but it was up to them to finish out the show because the actors wanted to move on. They were getting older, But the way they did it was they had a shorter 7th season which was like 7 or 8 episodes instead of the usual 10. And then they had season 8, the final season, which only had 6 episodes, and which was not enough to wrap up everything that they had been building up toward. And watching it, it was very, there's a lot of hype with it, but at the end, and a few months after some time of the finale passing, it was like, okay, yeah, this was not great. We deserved a lot more.
Mm.
Yeah. Hannah,
So,
your thoughts?
Yeah, so they were just trying to like wrap up the show was basically the idea behind it.
Yeah. I think everyone was ready to move on. And I think they were, wanting to, again, keep the show, tell the story they wanted to tell, but also but let the actors, move on and wrap up their storylines. But they had so much to do and so little time, and they didn't give themselves way to do it. Which I think if they wanted to, they could have stretched out season 8, made it a lot longer, filled in some plot holes, just gave us a more satisfying ending.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because one of the shows that I wanted to mention was a show called Jericho, and it was, it's basically a sort of like a apocalypse TV show about people in a small town trying to survive after all the major cities in the United States have been nuked. Is basically the premise of it, and it did, I guess, a similar sort of thing where like the first season, there was only one season really. That was 22 episodes. And then the second season was 7 because I think basically the show was canceled. But the show always had like huge cliffhangers at the end of every episode. And then same thing at the end of the first season. And so fans were furious when it was canceled because it was like a huge cliffhanger. And so they came back for 7 episodes just to wrap it up. But it definitely felt really rushed. And I feel like they killed off a bunch of characters that they didn't need to. And like, it could have been a really, really fantastic show, except it was canceled. And then they just kind of rushed through wrapping up all the storylines. So it sounds like a very similar thing, but for kind of slightly different reasons.
Yeah. I remember a lot of, like, similar to Game of Thrones, a lot of the seventh season and season 8 was just, oh, this character, kill him. This character, kill him. This character, don't need him anymore. Kill him. I mean, send him off to Timbuktu. We don't need him.
It's the easiest way to wrap up storylines, but it's a little lazy.
Yeah,
it's very lazy.
It's the easy way out.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I made a note. Most studios are looking at profits or looking at viewership whenever they're making a show, and it can definitely influence their decisions. And actors and actresses, when they lead, they affect storylines, and just can make things a little cluttered. And you definitely disappoint fans or push fans away when you take their favorite actors or actresses away.
Yeah, I also think about can't help but think about Full Metal Alchemist. Not that it had a disappointing ending, but just if you compare Full Metal Alchemist to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, one is pretty clearly and pretty unanimously superior to the other. And it all has to do with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was more based on the manga. And I think the original had the same problem as Game of Thrones, where they tried to continue past the source material, and they kind of did some things with it that were weird and it didn't really fit. And it's like, it seems like maybe you should wait for a series to be done before you make TV shows about it.
Yeah.
In case you catch up with the author.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was going to bring up another point here, that there's this thing of like fans, or do you like tie in? Do you play on fan service, and what outcome does that lead you to? So this could be this. I may be overthinking this, but it's like there's fan service. If you give into it, it could be good, right?
What can you define fan service for me?
Putting two characters together when it doesn't make sense for the plot. Or when in real life they would actually do this, or they don't really belong together.
Doing something just because the fans like want it.
fans like it, but for
Mhm.
to tell a good story, you shouldn't do it. But
Yeah.
but in some cases, it actually, when you do what the fans want, it actually turns out good.
Mhm.
Sometimes
yeah.
fans do not always know what they really want and what works best.
Yeah,
and they don't always agree either.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. So there's also like, if you give in to fan service, then the show is bad. So you can do what they want and it'd be good. Do what you don't do it, and if you do it, it could be bad.
I swear
if you don't do what the fans want, it could still be good. Or if you don't do what they want, it's bad. So there's kind of, does that make sense? Is there like four like possibilities?
Yeah. I swear I feel like there's a TV show. I feel like there's a TV show that I was watching and like it was getting feedback. I can't remember. I was watching something and they like changed things as they went according to feedback from the fans, because we can do that nowadays because the internet is so instantaneous.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
For the life of me cannot remember what it was. But it is interesting because I feel like it could go either way. It can be really successful because you're giving into what the fans want, but if it's not true to the original vision, what are you sacrificing in order for that to happen?
Yeah. Hayden, what are your thoughts? Or do you have a prime example?
Or do you have thoughts?
So I mean, all I can think of is, of course, the show that I always talk about, BoJack Horseman.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
They did it really well, where like BoJack and Diane, they sort of that's actually, I'm going to talk about this right now in kind of leading to another show.
Okay, can we throw in a quick spoiler warning?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we're talking about bad endings today. Just assume there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
Everything we talk about.
We actually saved you from Game of Thrones since Hayden might watch it later.
Yeah.
Well, so just so you guys know, spoilers for BoJack and How I Met Your Mother. In BoJack Horseman, they had the whole thing between BoJack and Diane that was like from the beginning of the show, like you could tell they sort of had like chemistry. They had a thing between them, but like they weren't a good match. Like really, like they were way too similar in this case that they were never gonna work. And it would have been just like a really destructive relationship. And that's one of those things, like, again, it's teased throughout the show and they keep almost having these moments, kind of like how I feel about like How I Met Your Mother. Like Ted and Robin shouldn't get together. Like they clearly have major issues and disagreements about things. And they continue it throughout the show, sometimes more than tease it, just actually straight up have their romance and everything. But like in BoJack, it gets to like there are several points where things almost happen with them and they never really hook up, because I think they know, like BoJack kind of keeps going after Diane, but she's a mess and he's a mess, and he is. She ends up getting in a good, healthy relationship with someone who helps get her on antidepressants, which she really needs but has been very much against, and turns out to be actually better, even though there are plenty of things in her eyes that make her, that she thinks she's worse when she's on them. But again, it's one of those things that's like, it's healthier for her. And so she just ends up with this really good guy. And like, it's, she still has problems with relationships, but she makes it work. And BoJack, like he actually ends up alone. And like, he even kind of admits like, he's in like the best place for himself. He went to prison, and so he's in prison in the last episode. Like he gets a day out to go to a wedding, but yeah, like he understands that this is what he needs. Like it keeps him in an environment where he can't, continue his destructive lifestyle, and he has to be better. So yeah, like he accepts that, and they just don't end up together. Whereas in How I Met Your Mother, obviously they do the most annoying thing. They and I'm rewatching the show again currently, and I'm in the last season. I just started the last season, and it's like you meet the mother finally, and she's such a good character. Like she's so great. Like she's adorable, and she's a good person, a good match for Ted. Everything gets along with all of them, and then like before you see their relationship even start, or like you barely see it start, you see some flashbacks, or I guess flash forwards. I guess it's all a flashback. Anyways, it's weird. You see like she dies in the last episode when she's technically like first introduced to Ted, and then it's like, oh wait, but Ted, you love Robin. Go to Robin now. And it's like, why would you do that? That's just, they're not good together. They're just gonna like do their thing again, except as old people. It's just.
I'm curious of how old they are in the series finale. They should be in like their like mid 40s.
They should. Yeah, I was gonna say they should probably be about 50. Maybe a little younger.
I would say mid 40s. Yeah, just from.
Well, because
all of them being in their like late 20s or early 20s. Like there's an episode where about Ted's 30th birthday.
Yeah, and I was trying to remember what season that was, or what year, because I was like, well, in 2005, that's when the show starts.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, I guess you could say that's maybe their mid 20s. So maybe call them
late 20s. Late 20s.
Okay. Late 20s? Well, then if in 2005 they were late 20s, then, the end of the show is 2030. So then they're at least 55 if they were like, say, 25 in 2000.
I was thinking more like 28, 25, 20, somewhere between 25 and 29.
I'm confused about the relevance of this conversation.
It's semantics aside. Semantics aside, yeah. It gave them the chance to like let Ted have his happy ending with, his dream of getting married and having 2 kids, and Robin's dream of traveling the world, being a famous news anchor, but then giving letting them be together because Ted's wife dies, and of course he still has that spot for Robin. But then just gives them, you told us this whole story. It's been years since she's passed. You're fine. Go ahead. Go for it, buddy. And it's like, watching it. I remember we watched it. When it came out, it was like we had hints that she was going to die, but it didn't hit until the finale, and it was just like it was kind of that overwhelming feeling. But looking back, it's like they kind of just I preferred if the alternate ending they had where she lived and they didn't like go into the whole like she dies, Ted and Robin get together. I also was a little upset that Barney and Robin got divorced and it didn't work out for them because they hyped them up so much. Right,
like they did, and that is one of the most annoying things to me. Like the entire last season is them getting ready for the wedding. Like they're at the wedding, and then the last episode they're just like, okay, they got married and then they got divorced.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
wait, what?
It's like that. Yeah, yeah. They just went on for a season and a half about how perfect they were for each other and how, they're, destined to be together. And then nothing. They're, yeah.
I mean,
it's over.
if I could just be a little annoying, just a little this time, I promise. And compare that to another show again, I think they would have been better off doing it like Parks and Rec, where the last season was like the entire last season was in the future and kind of catching up with what they'd done, but still continuing on with stories, instead of waiting till the last episode to cram like the last 20 years or something into that episode. Like it had good moments, I'd say.
Yeah.
But all in all, it was like it moved too quickly, especially for the last season feeling so slow.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah.
Also, it would have been great if they did
kind of like
I said, do a flash forward where they go into the future, showing like, let us enjoy the mother for a whole season, instead of just that little that ninth season that was just crammed within like 3 days.
Yeah. Well, I think that if they had let you have the mother for a whole season, then it would have hit a lot harder when she died. But I feel like it was like, well, sure, but like, let's say they kept the story exactly the same, but they let you really get to know her and interact with her. Like, I feel like it would have hit a lot harder. I feel like instead it was just confusing. You're just like, what? All right, okay.
Right.
This is this now.
I mean, like, again, they did introduce her like at the end of the last episode in season 8, and then she showed up throughout season 9. But again, it wasn't like enough to really attach to her, especially with like her in terms of her relationship with Ted, which should have been a major focus.
Yeah, if not the second half of the season, because we need to see that.
Right.
Yeah, I did like how they let her meet everyone else, but it's been done. We'll see how I Met Your Dad, if that ever comes out.
How I Met Your Father.
Yeah,
that is supposed to come out, but it's not her.
I know, but it was they had been talking about that spinoff since the end of How I Met Your Mother, and now they're talking about it again. But
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah. I had an example of a movie that I thought was a very bad ending, and there are several others. For movies, I think like sometimes they have bad endings because they want to make like unnecessary statements, or they kind of write themselves in like a hole where they're trying to support future movies. But this one, I don't know. It was just weird. Planet of the Apes from 2001. I guess they were trying to make a remake of the franchise with Mark Wahlberg, but the movie was already weird with them wearing weird monkey suits, and the ending they had Mark Wahlberg kiss one of the monkeys, one of the apes, and then they had him come back to the present. Which,
like kiss, or just like, oh, you're my friend, I kiss you on the forehead.
Nope.
Okay, all right, go. Yep.
Come here, tilt head.
Continue.
Kiss,
yep. We don't need to go any. Yep, it's fine.
Wait, I want to know all of it.
No, you can talk about that when
it's on YouTube. Go for it. And then they have him come back to the present to see Abraham Lincoln at the memorial, and he's just screaming. I guess he's just like, what's going on? What happened? How is this possible? And then just cutting to black. And it's just a frustrating movie ending for me. I don't know if y'all have any other honorable mentions.
In movies?
Movies, yeah.
I don't know. The one that I keep coming back to, it's more the ending of the trilogy. I was just upset with The Matrix. I don't know, I've just been thinking about The Matrix a lot recently, and that's just something that should have ended with the first movie.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about trilogies before. It's been a while, but that one to me, like The Matrix is such a beloved movie. I grew up with it more than I should have. And it's just like the last two movies were so disappointing compared to the first one.
I was pretty sure I recalled the Wachowski sisters deciding that they didn't want the second two. They just wanted to do the first one. And then it made
and now we have a fourth one coming out this year.
We do. So
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep.
Hopefully that will be much better though.
Exactly. 20 years later.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. What did you not like especially about the Matrix? The ending of it?
I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen it.
They killed everybody.
They did, yeah.
They did. Yeah, they did.
And it just, I don't know. I just never felt like they needed to go past the first one. Like the first one told a complete story and had a fantastic ending and it was great. And then they went on and the universe that they had was cool, right? With Zion and like everything, but it just felt so unnecessary and none of it lived up to the standard of the first one. And yeah, it's been too long for me to come up with specific complaints because I think I've only seen I've seen the second one a few times, so I've only seen the third one maybe twice. Just because I'm like, I feel like they were boring. There were a couple of really good scenes. So like the second one had the car chase scene on the highway, which was amazing. It's a great scene. But in general, I feel like they weren't as well done. The story wasn't as interesting. In general, not as good.
Yeah, it was weird. And I mean, maybe it's just looking at it today, but I feel like it was even bad CGI for the time. Like the second one, especially second and third, I mean, it was like, it looks so bad.
Yeah, they had that moment where Neo is fighting the clones of Agent Smith. Yeah. And there's that, there's the live action stuff, and then it switches to the CG model, and it's like you're not fooling anybody, buddy. We know this is all you're just you've got a fake character there. Just do all this stuff, and yeah, it got a little excessive for sure. Yeah, maybe to rewatch them. They're on. I think they're on HBO Max right now. Or they will be between now and when Matrix 4 comes out.
I don't want to rewatch them. I don't want to. I guess I probably should if I'm going to go see Matrix 4, which I should do that. But
because who knows what Matrix 4 will even be about.
My brain just is equating it to like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Where it's like we had 3 Indiana Jones movies and then there was a 4th one and it really never should have happened. And the 3 Indiana Jones movies are pretty decent. The second one's questionable.
Yeah.
But like the Matrix already kind of took a downhill turn and I'm like, they're gonna have to really do something awesome with this 4th one if they're hoping to redeem what's been going on.
But Hannah, it did so good in the box office. It made so much money. They have to make more to make more money. And the fans love the Matrix. Why won't we get the fans more of what they want?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe people should like write original stories.
Maybe.
In new universes.
What?
Who writes original stories?
I know.
We want sequels, okay?
We want sequels and remakes and reboots. All day, every day.
No. I still haven't seen like there's like 4 Ghostbusters movies or something right now. Because there's like the original and the sequel and then the remake and then there was like a spin-off or something that had.
Well, there was the first 3, then there was the all-women cast.
Were there 3 originally?
Yeah. And
I legitimately think I've only seen the first one.
I'm pretty sure, right?
I don't know.
I think there's at least two of the original ones.
I mean, I know there's at least 2. I was pretty sure there was 3, but maybe I am thinking of the other.
We're not supposed to be talking about remakes anyway. We've already talked about that and expressed all of our frustrations.
Actually, I guess it is just that the 3rd one is the one that's coming out. Holy,
I don't know.
Wait, did it just come out?
No, we still got time for that to come out.
Are you sure? Because this says release date June 11th, 2021.
I think it would be.
Although here on the
be trending
Wikipedia
more.
page it says November.
This is not what we're supposed to be talking
On
about right now.
Google,
It
says
isn't. It isn't.
June. That's weird.
Not remotely what we're supposed to be doing.
Anyway, Hayden, you did have a video game to talk about as far as something that has a bad ending.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like in general, I'm going to speak broadly at first, but an annoying thing about video games, I mean, this can be extended to shows and movies as well. So often, for video games in particular, since it's the only medium they can really do it on, they like being able to set up, they like to, especially these days, game companies love to have incomplete endings so they can sell DLC so that you can finish it, which is annoying. However, like one that, actually this is kind of an example of one that had that, the Mass Effect trilogy. Mass Effect trilogy had, it was obviously great trilogy in general. In fact, they just, did the like Legacy Edition or whatever they called it, Legendary Edition, which was a remaster of the first three. And they just, that's definitely one of the most controversial endings, or maybe it's just one of the most hated endings in video games, because like they build up the entire time about how your choices have throughout the franchise have an impact on what happens all through, like at the end or throughout everything else. And like, I mean, I still vouch for the game because you do, like, your choices in previous games will affect things that happen in like 3 and just in all of them really. But when it comes to the end of it, you get like, I think they expanded it so you have like 4 or maybe 5 endings technically, but basically you have like 3 endings where it's, do you want to see blue, red, or green at the end? Like they tell you there's a difference between everything that happens, but you don't actually see an effect of what those differences are. And it's basically a big explosion that it looks the same. It's the same cinematic, I think, that plays every time, except you see a different color, which is super annoying. And of course, they didn't really fix it in Andromeda, but they are having another Mass Effect game that hopefully will make some things better. But yeah, that is one of the most hated video game endings.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to write a good ending when when you want to end the story there, or that you have to make another full game or another full whatever to end the story that you're trying to tell. So yeah, it can be challenging. But yeah. Those are our picks for terrible endings, everyone. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And what shows, movies, video game endings did you hate? Let us know. What's going on next week?
Next week, we're going to be doing some sort of grand finale for this season. It's going to be a game or a game show of some kind of yet to be determined. But look forward to that.
To be determined.
It's a mystery episode.
Yay.
Ooh. Surprise.
Yeah.
We've discussed some things, like we've discussed a few different options, so we'll it will be a fun episode. We're gonna, well, I don't want to say promise, because I mean, fun is relative, but it's gonna be fun. We promise.
Yeah.
We'll try to have fun ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on social media. And as always, nerd out.
Nerd out.
Nerd out.